unspeakable terror, and unimaginable agony. These are just a few words that come to mind when describing the horrific ordeal of 8-year-old Shasta Groene at the hands of the notorious night vision killer. This is a spine-chilling and jaw-dropping true story that'll leave you questioning the very nature of humanity and the horrors that can unfold right before our eyes. So are you ready to enter a world of darkness and terror? In 2005, when Shasta Groene was only 8 years old, her life was irrevocably altered when serial killer Joseph Duncan III stormed into the house she shared with her mother, stepfather, and older brother. But Shasta's ordeal of terror was far from over. Duncan, also known as the night vision serial murderer, kidnapped her and her younger brother Dylan and held them captive for about 2 months, during which time they were exposed to unfathomable torture and brutality. This is a narrative that Shasta has decided to tell the world, and it'll give you the chills. Shasta remained silent for years after the tragic events of 2022, but finally opened up about them. Shasta's story is a terrifying account of her struggle to stay alive in the face of unfathomable evil, from the moment she was attacked to the day she was rescued. All of us can take inspiration from her bravery and resilience in the face of such unfathomable loss. By doing so, she draws attention to the terrible realities of abuse and violence and serves as a sobering reminder that we must never forget the victims of such senseless acts. Chapter: The Home Invasion. Groene said she spotted someone in her bedroom closet on May 15, 2005 at her house in Wolf Lodge, Idaho. After being reassured by her sibling, she drifted off to sleep. She thought it was all in her head. When she finally awoke, she found her mother sobbing nearby. "My mom was in tears," she then says. "Please, Shasta, get some sleep." A voice from within the home, she exclaimed. The next thing she knew, she was walking to the family living room to discover her stepfather and brother both lying face down on the floor. Their mouths were taped up with duct tape, and they had zip ties around their wrists and ankles. A man in all black and night vision goggles was there, ready with a shotgun. After dinner, Duncan escorted Groene and her brother Dylan to his car. Her mother, stepfather, and other brother were all killed by him with a hammer later on. Painful banging and a moan were all I could hear. I had no idea what was happening. Groene thought back. After abducting Groene and Dylan, he held them for 2 weeks in a campsite in Lolo National Forest near St. Regis, Montana before killing Dylan. To quote Groene, "I honestly have no idea what gave me strength or hope. Yet I had an internal drive to say and do certain things to win Duncan's favor and gain his trust. My mother's soul was probably guiding me at the time. She hoped I would get it out of there in one piece. Spiritually, I felt like she was guiding me. The question, how long am I going to be alive, crossed my mind more than once." Chapter: The Rescue. On the show, Groene recalled and told one day, "He asked me, 'How do you want to die?' You have 2 choices. I could shoot you or you can be strangled to death. I couldn't picture what happened to my brother happening to me. It scared me. So I told him, 'I want you to strangle me, I guess,'" she recalled, adding that if Duncan tried to strangle her, she would have more time to talk him out of it than if he shot her, at which point he could just pull the trigger and it will all be over. To which Groene replied, "So that's what I chose. He had me lay down on the ground and he put a rope around my neck. The only thing that saved the 8-year-old's life was when she called Duncan by his name Jet. He squeezed it and everything started turning white and I said, 'Please don't, Jet.' When I said that, he loosened his grip on the rope and he started crying. I was prepared to do just about everything to ensure my own survival." Groene recalled that Duncan took her out to dinner once after she tricked him into thinking she didn't want to be apart from him. I would tell him that I wanted to show him all the places I grew up in, where I went to school because I loved school, where I used to hang out, basically show him my life because I had no family, Groene said. According to Fox News Digital, he felt validated by my apparent faith in him. He felt like he was getting to know me on a deeper, more personal level. I was only attempting to influence him. I looked up and saw this guy at Denny's. I nodded my head as he glanced at me. When I nodded, he did the same. From the look in his eyes, I could tell he recognized me. I tried to show him with my eyes that it was really me. After the man alerted a waitress and the police were called, Groene was rescued on July 2, 2005. I remember feeling safe, but at the same time, I was sad about my family, Groene told KTVB in a previous interview. I was happy to be in a safe place, but there was still that part of me that was like, what if that happens again? Even after being sent to live with her biological father, Groene's prior traumas prevented her from focusing on the present. She missed a year of school, sought help for an eating disorder and cutting, and eventually returned to school. When asked about her childhood, Groene reflected, "I had my brothers with me all the time, and that's how I planned it all along. In my heart, I knew I belonged with them. I saw the little sister and only girl. I was the baby sister that everyone looked out for. My mom made sure we spent lots of quality time together as a unit. It was strange staying at home with my father and his new girlfriend instead of with my brothers. I felt so isolated. Because of his job as a truck driver, we rarely saw him, but that's how we paid the rent." She went on, "And I became quite self-conscious about my appearance and the food I ate. It was probably an attempt at self-punishment. I struggled with an eating disorder from an early age. After eating, I would force myself to vomit. I then engaged in acts of self-injury. There was a lot I wasn't telling my dad. Then cancer of the throat struck. It nearly took his life out of his hands. Because of everything that has occurred, I was able to recover." Groene stated her remorse stemmed from her vow to Dylan that they would be released from captivity and harm. "I had assured my sibling Dylan that I would see to it that we survived by any means necessary." She continued, "I felt like it should have been the other way around. He didn't make it, and I did. The way I dealt with everything was quite unhealthy. When I was 13, I joined an older crowd, started using pot, and began drinking. To dull the pain, I numbed myself. My father's death was also a real possibility. I was at loss for words." In 2008, Duncan was found guilty and sentenced to death for the murder of 10-year-old Anthony Martinez from Beaumont, California. Martinez was found in April 1997, and Duncan later confessed to the crime. Duncan was also implicated in the murders of 2 young girls in Seattle in the 1990s. Duncan, a convicted sex offender, told his therapist that he had sexually assaulted at least 13 younger boys before he turned 16. He passed away in March 2021 at a hospital in Terre Haute, Idaho from terminal brain cancer. "There can be no doubt about it. He no longer exists," Groene had said at the time. "Finally, we can live our lives knowing that. For so long, I have been struggling with animosity against that man, and today I woke up feeling like my soul was finally free. I hope other people touched by Joseph Duncan were able to wake up feeling the same way." Chapter: Legal Troubles. Groene pled guilty to the 2 charges of harm to a child in April of 2018. She has been given unsupervised probation until October of next year. As evidenced by court documents, Groene allegedly left methamphetamine within reach of a 1-year-old in her care. She allegedly also abandoned the medicine next to a newborn baby who was only a month old. It took less than a month for Groene to be accused of breaking her probation. A judge in Canyon County ultimately decided against jail time, instead giving her 18 months of probation with monitoring. But now, Groene lives with her husband Michael and 5 children happily in the Boise region. So now we are at the end of this video. If you found this video impactful, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories of survival and resilience. We'll see you in the next video.